This podcast was created as a part of Podcast Lab by India Film Project in association with Anchor by Spotify.
Okay. So this is something I wrote called Finding Love Bollywood-ish Style. And here it goes. Here's a simple guide so you don't sit at home and hide. It'll help you find love Bollywood-ish style. Go on a Euro trip to find someone who'll make your heart flip. Make sure it is for a minimum of a month. So if not Raj, you can find some Swiss sant. Always be fashionably late because only then can Cupid play with fate. Especially while traveling by train, show that if you don't get in, you will go insane. Just then, your hero will pull you inside in one swift motion, and love will happen without you having to administer any magic potion. From DDLJ's Simran to Ye Jawani's Naina, everyone has experienced this behna. Whatever you do, don't wear glasses. It doesn't appeal to the male masses. Does the name Naina ring a bell? The one who transformed her American restaurant into one that sells Indian food instead. Or even scholar Naina, who went from being cute to someone who made Kabir and the audience's hoot. Oh, and whatever you do, don't be a tomboy. Anjali was one, but she only got Rahul when she was coy. Mera Bharat Mahan. The same rule applies yahan. The more sanskari you are, pyar will not be far. Every Hindi serial will tell you that. You haven't seen Dil Mil Gaya or what? In that case, there's also Cocktail, where Meera got Gautam while Veronica wailed. Make sure that you're the damsel in distress, whose life is what people would politely call a mess. Someone who needs to be rescued from what would ideally be a family feud. Rifts between families is a plotline that never gets old, as the repercussions are often manifold. Devdas ho your Ram Leela, the drama works wonders on Relia. Weddings are matchmaking marketplaces. Take your pick among 1,000 faces. It is the best place to try the Chhe Din Ladka in mantra while looking great and dancing away to Mika. Pray every night for a neighbor like Kalhona Ho's Aman. Or for that matter, Ye Hai Mohabbat is Raman. They'll teach you how to smile while falling in love with you all the while. If none of this comes handy and doesn't make your life fine and dandy, don't blame me but the films we watch for making our lives hodgepodge.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Closet Writer Chronicles. I'm your host Sangeeta, aka the Moody Marshmallow. You just heard our guest for today, Dia Rekhi. Dia is a journalist and she currently works with a leading business daily and covers business, tech, and political developments in Tamil Nadu. She has also been dabbling in formats like news-based podcasts and even started a small lockdown experiment called What Drives You Kuku. This is a two-part conversation. On this episode, which is part 2, Dia and I will be chatting about Bollywood and our love for Hindi movies and our childhood obsession with Hindi TV serials. We also talk about OTT platforms and new age content that really changed it for us as viewers, and Dia shares her dream of writing a book and web show someday. To hear about Dia's journey as a journalist, tune in to part 1. But I think continuing on the Bollywood note, what are some of your favorite Bollywood films? Because I know we've spoken about this and there are many, but what are some of like your all-time favorite Bollywood movies?
There are a lot of them, and like you said, there are many, 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 many. But I think I miss old school Bollywood, and
Same.
for me, I think I haven't seen a good romance in a while. I really haven't,
That
and
is so
it
true.
hurts me sometimes because these days romances are all like, we want to be realistic, and I'm like, there's enough of that in my real life. There is no romance there. So at least give me something to like hold on to in the movies. So even like a good rom-com is not like a genre that I feel we've perfected.
Hmm.
um I mean, we have great musicals and romances, but I feel the rom-com genre in Bollywood has so much scope for betterment.
This is true.
um yeah, I really feel like we're missing out on that particular genre, and there's so much scope for that. I feel like if you're asking for my favorite films, I would say old school Bollywood for me. Now, if I say old school Bollywood, someone who's older is going to be like, what kind of old school is this? But I'm saying what I grew
90s.
up with. So, yeah, the 90s. I definitely feel there's a lot of nostalgia like attached to it. Maybe many of those films haven't even aged well, you know,
Right.
but I still feel like I go back to them when I want comfort. So
Right.
definitely Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, Dil To Pagal Hai,
Yeah.
uh, you know, I think even Dil Chahta Hai, I can watch n number of times, and I'm really looking
It's a
forward to
beautiful film.
the new version of it, which is with
Yeah.
an all girl like cast. But I
Yeah.
really hope they don't mess it up, because I just feel like these rejigs of old films many of the time mess it up. But since Farhan Akhtar and Zoya Akhtar are at the helm, I'm hoping it'll be a good film.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, Dil Chahta Hai, Ye Jawani Hai Diwani. I think
Yeah.
Andhadhun is one of my favorites.
Oh,
I
it's an
really love
amazing
the film.
film. Yeah. It's an amazing film.
Such
Oh
a
my God.
good film, and I like a lot of Ayushmann Khurrana's films in
Same,
recent
same.
times. Definitely Ayushmann Khurrana's films.
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
liked Gully Boy also
Yeah.
a lot. I thought Ranveer was really good. Funnily enough, I love Lutera. I know a lot
Oh,
of
even
people
I
didn't
liked
like it,
it. No, no, even
but
I
I
enjoyed that film.
loved Lutera. I loved the vibe of that film, and the way it was shot and the
Yeah.
music, and
Very
I also
atmospheric.
loved that story. That
Yeah.
Last Leaf, right? It's called.
Yeah. By O.
Um,
Henry. It's based
yeah,
on that
I
short story.
love the story. I
Yeah.
love the story, and I remember we read it.
In
We read
school.
it. I'm saying we read it in school,
Yeah,
right?
we did.
Yeah,
We did.
yeah. And I mean, closer to home, I feel like I was speaking about how most like films on journalism aren't depicted well. I think the first half of Noor is my
Right.
life in a nutshell. Like her entire existence is just like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Like, what is my life? I have no love life. I have weight issues. I have this. I have that. Yeah, that is my life, I think, in a nutshell. Yeah. So I think Noor was also a good film. The first half, the second half was okay,
Hmm.
but the first half was I really liked the first half. And what else? I mean, you can help me with this.
I
I
think.
mentioned Ye Jawani, right? I really
Oh,
like
that's
Ye
a
Jawani.
good film. Yeah. I think I also enjoyed I Hate Love Stories from Dharma. I quite enjoyed that film. I thought
I
that was
don't
actually.
like I hate love stories, but I have an unpopular opinion that I like Befikre. I
Oh my
really like
God. Okay, no,
Befikre.
I'm sorry. You can join Anupama Chopra because I think she was the only critic who liked that
Yeah,
film.
I did see that, and I really like Befikre. As in, like as maybe because I really liked Ranveer's character.
Okay.
Maybe so. I think you forgive other things, but yeah, I liked Befikre. Maybe also because it was the first time that we were seeing a romantic comedy in a while.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because yeah, I do feel that was part of it.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah, I really miss that genre. I don't know why people don't make more rom-coms. I don't
Yeah,
get it. I think
this
we've
is
seen
true.
a little bit. No, we haven't actually. Can you think
No,
of anything? I can't.
it's because I mean, because even if you ask me, I go back to those old 90s films like I love DDLJ and which is Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. I'm sorry, Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol are
Yeah.
just the best. Like you cannot. Like even I
Yeah,
grew up thinking.
Shah Rukh Khan can still make my heart skip a beat, man. He is just like, though in Harry Met Sejal, jab Harry Met
I did
Sejal
not
was
watch
a
that film.
disaster. No, it's good you didn't, because it was not good at all.
Yeah.
But I really feel like Shah Rukh and Kajol are my childhood, and I am more than happy to see them together again.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I don't know. There were not. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, in recent times, you're right. Even I can't really think of any like good um rom-coms that have really like, wow, this could be like an all-time favorite or classic. Like I know what you mean, because even I think the only one that's why when you said I enjoyed was I Hate Love Stories, because and the reason I liked it is because it kind of made fun of all the other rom-coms from the 90s, and essentially it went through the same arc, which is why it was like funny, and I enjoyed that film. um and we can go on with this conversation, but I think we should really shift gears before we're
Yeah,
like,
we
oh my
should.
god, oh my god. But no, I mean, Bollywood is definitely. I mean, it's a huge craze in India, especially North India. But I mean, now I think you have a lot more regional content also coming in. But having said that, you also have TV serials, which are like a huge culture in India, like Hindi, even in the South, like Tamil serials or Malayalam serials or whatever. And I know you and I were huge consumers of Hindi serials while growing up. And
Which
it's,
is
I
an
know,
understatement.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but anyway, and I know a lot of people have judged us for this, but I really don't care because we really did. And why do you think? And forget even us, Dia. Like, it's a craze even otherwise among so many people. Like Hindi TV serials, I have seen people writing fan fiction on Wattpad for serial characters and stuff. So it's crazy, and that craze was there. It's still there. The fact that it's carried on so much, even with current day serials, though I actually don't watch that much today. I think I only watch like one serial with my mother. That's it. But back in the day in school, I think we used to watch like most stuff that used to come on TV. Why do you think that craze was there or is there with like Hindi serials?
See, I can speak for myself when I say this. I am very dumb. Okay. Like, I love watching mindless crap from time to time, and I have no shame in admitting it. Now, everybody, if you're going to go around saying, oh, I'm very intellectual, I want to watch only sensible stuff and all, I'm not one of those people. I
Yeah,
thoroughly enjoy watching shit also from time to time, and
same.
absolutely unrealistic shit.
Yeah.
So I think when we were young, when it came to serials, I want to make a distinction and say that at least in our case, like yours and my case, we watched TV when it was worth watching.
That's
You
also
know,
true.
I think Star One was really where the party was at. And
Yeah.
those who missed that Star One bus, I think really missed out on a fun time, in this whole thing of, this is crap and all of that. If you watch Star One, they were really great serials. You had Sarabai versus Sarabai. You had,
Yeah.
your Milenge, what is that?
Mile,
Milenge Jab
mile,
Hum
no,
Tum.
mile jab hum tum. Yeah, mile jab hum tum.
That. You had that. You had Dil Mil Gaye. You had so many serials. If
Yeah.
I start listing, there'll be so many.
You even had
And
stuff like India Calling, which was actually very progressive for its
India Calling
time.
was a great show. Yeah. So I think that, it started off with me watching serials with my grandmother, and she used to watch a lot of these Sasbahu kind of thing,
Yeah.
like shows. And then
Hmm.
I grew up a little bit, and I found this great channel called Star One where they were showing like really fun, teen based shows. And, like
Hmm.
it was just a good thing to watch. And
Yeah.
you also saw these romantic ones. I only watch the romantic ones because, like, I mean, Bollywood. But yeah, and they peddled nonsense in the name of romance. That's a different thing. But I still bought into it because you're young and impressionable and hopeful, that with time, that kind of goes down the drain anyway. So at that point, I feel like I thought if someone doesn't look me straight in the eye lovingly for 15 of the 20 minutes that the serial aired, they were not worth my time, you
Oh
know.
my God.
And I really believe that, oh, something is going to happen and someone is, going to fall from the sky. I'm still hoping someone falls from the sky, but with age you become more jaded and you realize nobody's falling from any sky. And you need to take care of yourself, because unlike in the serials, when you trip and fall, you fall. Nobody's coming to like magically appear and hold
Yeah.
you and look into your eyes and be like, oh my god, this dupatta is flying and all of that.
Oh my
No.
God.
So, and it's so far from reality that you buy into it.
That's
If you
true.
give me a good serial even now, I will still buy into it. And even if it's ridiculously like outlandish in terms of its approach and treatment, like Hindi serials are,
Yeah.
I do feel like I would still watch it. Like if you give me a revamped, good version of a Dil Mil Gaye, I'll still watch it. Even though they
Hmm.
did no medicine in that show, they were only doing loveology in that show.
Yeah, that's
Nothing
true.
they were doing. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
this is
still,
true.
you bought into it because you were like, okay, fine. that character Arman is messed up, but at least he loves her and he's willing to change.
Yeah,
So
but he's
I
actually a
think
very problematic character when you look in hindsight.
precisely, he's like, so I'm saying, like, if you give me a new version of that, which is
Mm.
good to watch. The problem today is everything is only Nagin and some Samp and this and that. And I like that's, yeah, this Icha Diya, I don't even know what all there
Oh my
actually get
God.
into this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
I know
don't
what you
want
mean.
that.
Yeah, but I think then the refreshing shows that came were like shows from other countries, like say a Zindagi Gulzar Hai. You had a Fawad Khan enter, which was like so refreshing after so long to see a show like that. Though even Zindagi Gulzar Hai is a very problematic show and there's a lot of patriarchy and misogyny in that show. It's still a very like the first time
I
you watch
agree.
it, there's like
I
I was
still
like, oh
loved
my God.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it too. And I was like, I can see the problems, but I still like enjoy this show.
I can see the problems, but I can see Fawad Khan.
Exactly.
It's
That's
literally as
that's the
simple as
thing.
that.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's Fawad Khan. Let's just leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, but no, speaking of content like that also, I think now with OTT, you have so many different kinds of series come. Like, I mean, K-dramas are like a huge thing now. And like I said, even like Pakistani shows are like a thing now. And you have content coming in from everywhere. So like, do you also like watch stuff from like other places? And, is there anything you specifically enjoy?
I do watch a lot of stuff from elsewhere too, but I didn't really get with the K drama program. I have not even, like, here and there I see clips that come up on Instagram, but I've not really gotten drawn into the craze of K dramas. And as for Pakistani shows, when Zindagi Gulzar Hai came out, I saw it. I saw Hamsafar also, but I didn't get sucked into either of those, diverse, genres of movies and films and series and so on. I stick to a lot of Indian content, but I find that the Indian content on the web is very different from the Indian content on TV. So I don't watch TV much
That is
any
true.
longer.
That is true.
So I feel like there's a lot of great Indian content on the web now.
Yeah.
There is a lot of crap also, but you can filter out what you like and what you don't like.
For sure.
In terms of even interesting documentaries, there are so many. I recently saw this documentary on the Burari deaths.
Oh, I
and
haven't
it
watched that
is
yet.
Spine chilling, but done
Hmm.
so well.
Hmm.
So I feel like there is a lot of interesting content on the web that is open for people to consume, which is why you won't go back to TV, because you
True.
have a finite amount of free time
True.
where you want to, you want to be invested in a good story.
Oh,
It comes
yeah,
down
for
to that,
sure.
we keep
Yeah.
talking about storytelling. If the story is not going to get you invested, why are you going to watch it?
Yeah, that is true. That is
And
very
especially
true.
when there are so many options out there. So
Yeah.
I think definitely, and also it's the convenience of watching at your own time. I don't have that Tata Sky record option. I know people use that record option to watch later and all of that. I don't have that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like if you miss the 9 o'clock slot of a serial, you have to wait for the repeat telecast whenever it comes. But here, I can finish work at say 10 o'clock and still put on my laptop and start where I left off.
Yeah.
So I think the convenience that it gives, I can pause in between, I can do whatever I want if something comes up. So I think, yeah, definitely that. There are a lot of good Hindi shows. There are a lot of great international shows. I feel like the main content I consume from, uh, you know, uh, creators from other countries would be good crime dramas or, true crime documentaries or something like that. I'm currently watching this show on Netflix, which is called Turning Point, which is about 9/11 and the subsequent war on terror. And it's very interesting. So yeah, I mean, I'm only on the first episode, but I'm pretty invested in it. So I definitely think I'll finish off all
Wow.
the
No, I'll definitely check it
episodes.
out. That sounds like a really interesting show. But yeah, I think you're right in terms of
Since
Indian.
we're talking about this,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, go on.
No, tell me.
No, I was just saying that since we're talking about this, another big factor that I think Indian shows need to realize is that you don't have to have 10,000 episodes.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
True.
Because even with good shows, they all start off well. And then, you see that if you watched Hindi serials long enough, you see the same cycle repeating.
Yes.
Some accident will happen.
Yeah.
Then he'll forget, he'll lose his memory. Then this girl will come into his life. and he'll fall in love with somebody else, but then he'll realize he's actually in his, before he had the accident, he was in love with her, and she will be this forgiving, loving, darling soul who will say, do whatever you want. I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah,
You can
true.
have a good, tight 26 episode show. I think do that, no, and finish it, move to the next one. You don't have
I
to do
agree.
this like never ending saga.
Yeah.
That's the
No,
biggest problem. I think that's the distinction.
that's true. No, no, I agree because I think even say a show like since we're talking about Indian OTT shows, I think one I've really enjoyed is Little Things, the one with Dhruv Sehgal and Mithila Palkar.
Right. I really like. I haven't seen the latest
Yeah,
season.
yeah, you should. It's yeah, but I kind of agreed with some of the reviews that the latest season wasn't the same as the first three. I think because Dhruv Sehgal didn't sit in on the writing this time. Maybe that's why. I mean, it was still lovely. It was done, but you could tell they were sort of rushing, I feel, in the last season. But it was still nice. It was definitely still nice and like heartwarming to watch and all of that. But yeah, I think that's been one good. I even liked Mismatched with Prajakta Kohli and
I really
Rohit
liked
Sharma.
Mismatch. I saw it only recently. I had missed it when it came out. I saw it
Yeah,
only recently and really liked it. I'm looking
yeah.
forward to the next season.
So yeah, you do have like really nice content, and I completely agree on the crime drama thing. Like, I mean, I think Sacred Games is what really changed it. I loved that show. I thought it was very well
It was a
done.
good show.
Yeah, I think that's what really changed it for Indian OTT. But yeah, I think there's so much interesting content coming out. Even Family Man is a great one. Just throwing that out there. I think
Family
Rajan.
Man is great. Asur is very good. For a lot of people who don't know, Asur is great. The
Oh,
Arshad Vasi one with Barun Sobti. You
I
should watch
haven't
it,
watched
Sangeeta,
it.
if you
Oh
haven't
yeah.
seen it.
Yes,
Please
I
watch it. I
will.
think it's
Yeah,
on Root. It's really good.
yeah, for
I
sure.
saw a couple of others. There's Criminal Justice with Prashant
Yes, I
Massey,
loved
which is
that.
also good.
Loved that. Pankaj
Yeah, there's a
Tripathi,
second season
amazing.
as well.
Yes, I watched the second one too. I
Yeah,
watched
I
both
saw the
seasons.
second season as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
there's
Asur is very good. I highly recommend it.
no. So yeah, definitely there's a lot now you can like really sink your teeth into. And it's an exciting time for sure. But speaking about all these stories, and since Dia, you and I have been exposed to this kind of content, and because we've discussed it so much at various points, and I'm not sure if we've discussed this on a personal level, but this is something I definitely want to ask you. Do you ever see yourself like writing a book or writing a script maybe for like movies and serials and being like, dude, do a better job? Because I think we've discussed this that, maybe we should start writing. But
Yeah.
do you ever see yourself doing something like that? That, oh, maybe I'll write a book today, or maybe, I might actually end up writing for television or movies at some point.
I've thought about it a lot, and we've discussed it also a lot as kids itself. So
Yeah.
it is something which has been at the back of my mind for a while. And then you see a lot of content which you feel like you can also write in terms of, even something like Little Things, right?
Yeah.
It's actually a very nice, simple show. It's not anything which is out of the ordinary. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
it's based on regular instances of just a couple's, triumphs and downfalls through
Yeah.
being together, right? It's a
Right.
fairly simple premise, if you ask me.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, I this is something I can work with, but I've thought about it and I have a few ideas as well to write a script for, in terms of
Ooh,
like a web
fun.
series or something like that. Yeah, but I think it's also about the discipline of executing those ideas. They can be
Definitely.
ideas, and I can sit and tell you I have this idea and that idea. I don't think I've had the discipline to sit down and actually write, a full fledged script. Because
Hmm.
sometimes I feel like, where am I supposed to start? I have all of these things that bring me in my head, and to sit down and actually write, which is why, a lot of people say, call themselves a writer. I feel like I'm a wannabe writer because I write for a living, but that is different. Those
Hmm.
stories are different. That way of writing and that style of writing is very different.
Right.
Journalistic writing is different from writing for a film or a web series or something like that. So yeah, the ideas are there,
Hmm.
but it's about when I sit down to execute.
Yeah.
As for a book, I think one of the things on my bucket list is to write a crime thriller at some point.
Oh, you
When
should.
and whether that will happen, I don't know, but it's definitely something that I would like to do. But yeah, I think, it's at this point, it becomes one of those things that you tell yourself every New Year's, right? You're like, this year I'm going to do this and this. And then you realize it's already October and you're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, where did this year go? So yeah, I think it's about being disciplined, and that's
Yeah.
not something I've been very good at. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, no, I completely agree. You're right. It is about building that consistency and discipline. But also see, since the fact that you are doing it as a living, you're still it's I agree it's a different style of writing, but you are like writing nonetheless. You are sort of exercising that muscle, so to speak. This would be a little obviously different. But I think, I don't know, whenever you sit down to do it, I think you'll do a wonderful job. And I really hope you do sit down and write that book because I would love to read it. And I know it would be amazing because you're a really great storyteller. So I would love to like sit and read your work for sure. But sort of coming now towards the end of the interview and towards, we already spoke about you writing books and maybe a series or something someday. What are your aspirations? You know, what are things you're looking forward to either in the near or distant future?
Sankita, you're being like, you're pushing me down an existential spiral now. But yeah, this is some loaded question. I think maybe it would be to get better at my job, um, in terms of sniffing out better stories. I also feel like I'm very keen on learning new formats of storytelling. I already mentioned that I have this lockdown experiment that I started in terms of my page, which is What Drives You Kuku. And I had done a like small podcast, which I have not been consistent with. I put out a couple of episodes during the first lockdown, and I enjoyed doing it. And even this is an interesting format for me. I have read your work as well, appreciated it, and I told you also the newsletters were lovely. So I feel like blogging was something that I had taken up at one point where I was writing for fun, basically silly, filmy pieces based on movies that I had watched or anything like that. And I used to write about, what love is like in the movies and what love is like, or the lack thereof is like in real life.
Right.
And I completely stopped at some point because life catches up, and then work and this and that, and these sound like lame excuses, but I do feel like at some point your priorities sort of shift, and you're
True.
like, okay, I'm gonna do this when things are better. But
Right.
then you realize things never really get better and perfect at any
Hmm.
point, and that you have to do what you got to do.
Right.
And I do feel like I'd like to restart that process of writing for fun, because at this
Yeah.
point, like you said, I am writing, so there's that discipline of writing something every day, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think maybe getting back to writing fun stuff, possibly getting back to maybe doing a little bit more on that podcast. I am actually working, but for work again, it's a news based podcast that we do.
Nice.
And yeah, so from time to time we do different episodes. I get to either edit or I get to host, and it's obviously a large team, so maybe in 2 weeks I'll edit once or I'll host once or something like that. But it's been great. So yeah, and apart from this, whatever I mentioned earlier, maybe a script sometime, maybe a book, but this is all sounding like some castles in the air at this point. So hopefully we'll be able to talk once something concrete is.
Yeah, for sure. No, but that's
Yeah.
amazing, Dia. That's incredible. More power to you. Hope all of this happens. So coming to our last question, what I love to ask people, what is a piece of advice or learning you'd like to share with people? Can be creative, professional, or something you've just generally experienced personally and wish more people knew more about.
I think this is an instance in my life that changed, or not really changed, but I feel made me realize that it's okay, and that I should calm down a little bit, because as an overthinker, like the worst thing that you can do is to sit and be like, I'm making the worst decision of my life, this is a bad decision, I'm ruining my life and all of that. So when I was quitting my job in Mumbai to come back to Chennai to do general reporting and so on, I really was under the impression that I am, possibly kicking the biggest break of my life. And I was like, this is just a bad idea, this is a bad decision. And everybody around me was telling me that, you're doing the wrong thing, you're making a mistake, and how are you going to, handle this and all of that. And this is my first job, so it really makes you think. You're like, am I doing something? People were like, you're being ungrateful and all of that. And it really played on my mind. And at one point, one of my colleagues saw that, people were saying all of this. So he took me aside and he made me sit down. And I guess he picked up on the fact that it was really bothering me. And he sort of just told me that, listen, Dia, um, people will always say things, and there is nothing like a bad decision. Don't go on putting this pressure on yourself that this is a bad decision. It is a decision. So just think of yourself as being at a point where you have to cross a really crowded street, in terms of cars just, you know, zooming by, and there are no signals or anything like that. Everybody around you is telling you, don't cross the street. You're going to get hit by a car. You're going to get hit by a car. Don't cross the street. And you have to cross the street, whether it is now, and that traffic is not going to get better. So you decide to cross the street in the best way that you can. And believe me, when you're on the other end of the street, the same people who told you don't cross, don't cross, don't cross, will tell everyone else, oh my God, look at her, what a brave girl, she crossed the street, she managed to do this, wow, talia bajao, and all of that. So he said, just make use of every opportunity you get. Be the one who crosses the street, and be the one who paves your own path. So I think that a lot of the times, and I'm guilty of this as well, the fear of failure or the fear of making a bad decision comes in the way of taking advantage of certain opportunities. And I think that if people can learn or try, like I am, try to let the opportunity be the focus and consider every chance that they get as an opportunity to learn, rather than, oh my God, this is going to be such a terrible experience or something like that. I think that, yeah, I'm not saying be reckless, but remember that no experience is wasted, and that many years later you might find that what you deemed as the worst incident could end up being something that helps you learn and grow the most. So, yeah, I think just be open to opportunities. Don't fear bad decisions. I think that's what I would
Yeah.
say.
No, and that's very well put. And I completely agree. There's no point sitting and overthinking things. And especially going with that whole thing, oh my God, what will people say? It's pointless, because by the end of the day, you are living your life. Only you know what makes you happy and what doesn't. So yeah, and you're right. It's a decision. You can always make another one if something doesn't work, because you learn from it, you'll grow. So it's very well put, and I think it's much needed for many people to hear, especially in today's climate, for sure. But with that, yeah, we've come to the end of this interview. I had so much fun talking to you, Dia. This is, I can't wait for people to hear this, because I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation for people to hear. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No, it's my pleasure. I've loved every moment of it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So that was part 2 of my conversation with Dia Rekhi. I had a lot of fun recording this, and I got some really cool movie and web show recommendations to check out. Closing this episode with a blog piece written and narrated by Dia. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you next week with a new guest and a new chronicle to share. Talk soon!
This is another one which is based on true events. It's called Real Romance, Real Problems. February makes me feel nauseous. It is that time of the year when everything is heart shaped, from cushions to balloons to chocolates. Love is in the air, but only for a select few. For those who have managed to find love in a hopeless place, as Rihanna would say. But what about the rest of us? The broken hearted single souls who walk about the streets aimlessly, hoping to change the L in our lives from laundry to love. I dread Valentine's Day because it's a day designed to amplify the sorrows of singledom. I took it upon myself a few years ago to ensure that my relationship status changed from single to it's complicated if not in a relationship. Friends advise me to put myself out there. But I often wondered, where exactly is this out there? Is it on the other side of platform 9 and 3 quarters? Because every time I hear about this mystical place, I imagine it to be one where there are unicorns in the sky, rainbows everywhere, and single men and women walking about in robes with wreaths around their head. But apparently, out there has nice, smart guys. But here's the thing, last I heard, dinosaurs were extinct. Despite several dating app disasters, my resolve got only stronger. I'm going to tell you about this time a couple of years ago when I thought I'd hit the jackpot. This time, I thought I wouldn't be single on Valentine's Day. I thought I found the greatest opportunity right out of the movies when I was waiting for my baggage to arrive. Pun not intended. This guy came up to me at the airport to buy a donut. Not from me, from someone there. He was struggling to communicate with the lady at the counter to know if it was a milk chocolate donut. At this point, I knew it was my time to shine. So I spoke to the lady in Tamil and found out that it was milk chocolate. He smiled and thanked me, and we spoke about language being such a barrier. We exchanged numbers, and I headed to the baggage belt while he waited for me. That is what should have happened. What really happened was an anticlimax. Not only did he not say thank you, he didn't even smile at me. So I awkwardly walked to the other end where he sat shamelessly eating the donut I ensured he got. And what happened next, you ask? He pushed off while I lugged my suitcase out. I saw him outside again, except this time he was cruising by in a BMW. He should have stopped and asked if I needed a lift. And, we would have driven off to far, far away so we could live happily ever after. But that is the problem with romance in real life. It's nothing like in the movies. So while the world painted the town red, quite literally, I could only hope to paint the town a dull beige at least. I watched 27 dresses that Valentine's Day, hoping Kevin Doyle will jump out of the screen and be my Valentine. Talk about unrealistic expectations.